Fluent, period. Have you ever felt it? That gnawing frustration, the silent scream echoing in your mind as you stare at another English textbook, feeling utterly lost? You're pouring hours, days, weeks into learning, trying to conquer vocabulary, wrestle with grammar, force out perfect pronunciation, and yet it feels like you're trapped in an endless, dark labyrinth. You might even believe, deep down, that this is just how it has to be. That language learning is supposed to be a grueling, punishing ordeal. That if you're not struggling, you're not truly improving. But what if I told you that belief is a lie? A deeply ingrained myth that's been holding you back, trapping you in a cycle of overwhelm and burnout? What if the secret to unlocking fluent English, to shattering those chains of frustration, isn't about doing more of what's already overwhelming you, but about focusing on one single, foundational skill? A skill so powerful, so transformative, that mastering it doesn't just improve one aspect of your English, but elevates every other skill simultaneously, making the entire journey not just easier, but genuinely enjoyable. A skill that most learners tragically overlook, underutilize, or completely misunderstand its profound importance. In the next few minutes, we're going to pull back the curtain on this hidden truth. We're going to expose the common pitfalls, challenge the dominant narratives, and reveal why this singular skill is the bedrock upon which true fluency is built. And by the end of this journey, you'll possess not just a deeper understanding, but actionable strategies, secret techniques, if you will, to integrate it into your daily life, transforming your English learning from a struggle into an effortless ascent. But before we dive into the depths of this revelation, know this: I've walked that same shadowed path. I remember the dizzying sensation of trying to conquer English, then Chinese, and now Spanish, feeling swamped by an avalanche of information. It was like attempting to build a skyscraper by trying to erect all the walls, floors, and windows at the same time, without a solid foundation. Pure caos. It took years of trial and error, of hitting dead ends and questioning my own capabilities to unearth the undeniable truth. There is one skill that acts as the master key, the primary lever that moves all others. This elusive skill, the silent architect of fluency, is listening. Yes, listening. It might sound deceptively simple. Perhaps you already listen to podcasts or watch English shows. But are you listening effectively? Are you harnessing its full, formidable power? Because when you do, everything changes. Your pronunciation spontaneously improves. Vocabulary effortlessly embeds itself in your memory. Complex grammar patterns untangle themselves without conscious effort, and your speaking confidence skyrockets. It's not magic. It's a profound shift in your learning strategy. And because I believe this truth needs to be shouted from the rooftops to reach every frustrated learner lost in the linguistic wilderness, I've distilled this entire philosophy into a comprehensive, downloadable guide. It's a blueprint for building a consistent, focused, and genuinely enjoyable listening practice. A practice that doesn't feel like work, but like discovery. To get your hands on this guide, this roadmap to unlocking your potential, simply click the link in the description below, share your email with me, and I'll send it straight to your inbox. Consider it your first step out of the shadows and into the light of truly effective learning. Now, let's talk about why listening isn't just important, but why it is, without question, the foundational skill upon which all other language abilities are built. The landscape of language learning is riddled with misconceptions. One of the most insidious and damaging is the pervasive belief that if you're not suffering, if you're not pushing through immense difficulty, then you're not truly making progress. This idea is a cruel trick, an invisible barrier that convinces countless eager learners to give up. We're taught, almost subconsciously, that the more pain involved, the more legitimate the gain. But think about it. Do babies learn their first language by struggling through grammar exercises or by memorizing flashcards? Of course not. They learn by immersing themselves in a rich, comprehensible soundscape, by listening. They absorb, they mimic, they internalize. Their entire linguistic world is built on a foundation of listening. While it's true that all the elements, your ability to articulate, your power to recall words, your comprehension of written text, are vital components of language mastery. There exists a singular, core skill that must be nurtured above all else. A skill that acts as the fertile ground from which all other linguistic flora can blossom. Online, the debate rages. What is the single most crucial skill to master? The verbal gladiators clash, with speaking and listening often emerging as the champions. And while speaking feels empowering, offering that immediate, tangible proof of progress, my own journey through English, Chinese, and now Spanish has illuminated an undeniable truth. Listening has always been the lodestar, the guiding star that illuminated every other path. And this isn't merely my subjective experience. This truth is fortified by rigorous research and echoed by linguistic titans, legendary polyglots who have unlocked the secrets of multiple tongues. Consider the words of Steve Kaufman, a man who speaks over a dozen languages. He famously asserted, and you can find his compelling arguments on platforms like Medium, that I believe that listening comprehension, not speaking, is the most important skill in language learning. If you can achieve a high level in comprehension, all other skills will follow. The speaking will come, the grammar and correct usage will come. Read that again. Let's sink in. It's a profound paradigm shift. It tells us that instead of agonizing over every misplaced word or grammatical slip in our attempts to speak, we should first cultivate an inner ear, a deeply attuned understanding of the language. Why is this so crucial for you, the modern language learner navigating a world that constantly demands your attention? Because let's be brutally honest, most of us aren't professional linguists with endless hours to dedicate to intricate grammatical drills. We have careers, families, responsibilities that stretch our time thin. We chase hobbies, manage households, and navigate the relentless currents of daily life. For me, while I deeply enjoy the process of unraveling Spanish, it's not a 10-hour-a-day obsession. That's simply not a realistic allocation of time. We need efficiency. We need leverage. We need a skill that provides the maximum return on our limited investment. And that skill, without a shadow of a doubt, is listening. Think about it. When you engage with compelling, comprehensible listening material, content that genuinely captivates your interest, that stretches your understanding just enough without overwhelming you, a silent, powerful alchemy occurs. As you listen, truly listen to a native speaker, your brain isn't just passively receiving information. It's actively deconstructing the rhythm, the intonation, the subtle nuances of pronunciation. Without even trying, your own pronunciation starts to align, to refine itself, to shed its foreign accent. You're not just hearing words, you're internalizing the very music of the language. Simultaneously, interesting grammar patterns, those elusive structures that once seemed so complex and arbitrary, begin to reveal their inherent logic. They move from abstract rules to intuitive understanding. You start to notice how phrases are constructed, how tenses flow, how prepositions connect ideas, not because you've memorized a conjugation table, but because you've heard them used in authentic, meaningful contexts hundreds, thousands of times. And vocabulary? New words, powerful expressions, idiomatic phrases don't just flash on a screen and vanish. They are encountered in their natural habitat, surrounded by context. This contextual immersion makes them sticky, memorable. You're not just memorizing a definition. You're absorbing the feeling and usage of the word. You're building a mental dictionary that's alive, not just a static list. Furthermore, this focused listening isn't just about acquiring new knowledge. It's about solidifying what you already know. It's practice in recognition, in retrieval, in making those neural pathways stronger and faster. Every listening session, when done intentionally, becomes a multifaceted workout for your entire linguistic apparatus. This is why, without fail, every single time I commit to practicing a language, my primary focus is on deepening my listening comprehension. It's the highest yield activity, the silent engine driving all other progress. Of course, no skill magically appears fully formed. Just as a sculptor doesn't simply wish a masterpiece into existence, you must intentionally cultivate your linguistic abilities. This applies whether you're refining your auditory perception or forging robust learning habits. The fundamental truth here is to perceive learning not as a destination you arrive at, but as an ongoing, dynamic process. It's a continuous journey of discovery and refinement, not a task to be completed and then forgotten. And speaking of intentional learning and continuous refinement, I want to take a brief moment to thank a fantastic resource that aligns perfectly with this philosophy and has generously sponsored a portion of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is more than just an online platform. It's a vibrant, supportive learning community specifically designed for those who refuse to stand still, for creatives, for freelancers, and for lifelong learners like us. Whether your goal is to master the intricate dance of time management, dive headfirst into a captivating new hobby, or even ignite the spark of a side hustle that could redefine your future, Skillshare offers an unparalleled treasure trove of thousands of expert-led classes to help you carve your path to mastery. I've personally experienced the transformative power of Skillshare. Recently, I found myself wrestling with the chaos of my daily schedule, feeling perpetually overwhelmed by a never-ending deluge of tasks. I was looking for a system, a framework, something that could cut through the noise and bring order to my days. And that's when I stumbled upon an incredible class on Skillshare, Chaos.com Google Calendar Workshop for Creatives. It wasn't just another theoretical lecture. It was a practical, hands-on workshop that completely revolutionized how I approach my day. Instead of feeling like a tiny boat tossed about on an ocean of obligations, I now navigate with a clear compass, using a system that truly works for me. This is what sets Skillshare apart. Their classes aren't about passive consumption, about merely absorbing information and letting it evaporate. They are meticulously crafted to empower you to apply what you learn. Many courses even culminate in inspiring projects where you can take the knowledge you've acquired, transform it into tangible creations, and then share it with a supportive global community of fellow learners. It's not just about accumulating facts. It's about making genuine, measurable progress, about seeing the direct impact of your learning in your real life. If you identify as an artist, a writer, or simply someone who yearns to infuse more creativity, more intentionality into the fabric of your everyday existence, much like myself, then investing in your creative capacity becomes paramount. Skillshare effortlessly facilitates this by granting you access to an immense library of high-quality, expert-led classes that are flexible enough to seamlessly integrate into your already bustling schedule. If you've been contemplating the pursuit of a new skill, if that little voice inside you has been whispering about uncharted territories of knowledge, there has never been a more opportune moment to begin. And to help you take that crucial first step, Skillshare has an incredible offer for our community. The first 500 individuals who utilize my exclusive link, which you'll find nestled in the description box below, will receive a full 1-month free trial of Skillshare. This means you can immerse yourself in as many classes as your curiosity desires, explore new passions, and personally witness the profound impact of investing in your continuous growth. Don't let this opportunity slip through your grasp. All right, with that powerful resource in your arsenal, let's pivot back to our core mission, diving deep into the actionable strategies you can employ right now to dramatically enhance your listening skills as a language learner. We're not talking about passive background noise. We're talking about active, transformative engagement. The first and perhaps most potent technique I swear by is the strategic combination of listening with reading. It's a symbiotic relationship, a force multiplier for comprehension and retention. For me, reading a physical book is a cherished ritual, especially as part of my winding down routine before sleep. It's a moment of calm, a foray into other worlds. But sometimes, especially when tackling texts in a foreign language, the narrative can become dense, the vocabulary arcane, the prose challenging. My mind, ever prone to wandering, can easily lose its grip, slipping into distraction. This is where the magic of the audiobook intertwined with the physical text comes into play. Imagine holding a book, its words laid out before you, while simultaneously hearing those very words spoken by a professional narrator. This isn't just dual input. It's a profound reinforcement loop. If a particular word or phrase feels alien, if the author's stylistic choices momentarily obscure meaning, the audio provides an immediate, clear guide to pronunciation and context. It acts as a cognitive anchor, holding your attention firmly to the material. I typically employ my iPad for this, its larger screen providing an immersive reading experience. While I'm using it now to guide my thoughts in this very script, I can illustrate with my phone. I navigate to my e-reader app, select the book I'm currently devouring. Let's say, hypothetically, a complex nonfiction title like How Not to Age, which I'm genuinely reading and finding incredibly intricate. Then, simultaneously, I'd open my Audible app, my chosen sanctuary for audiobooks, and cue up the corresponding audio track. Inflammation, the next aging pathway, is inflammation. In recent years, one of the most medically important discoveries was recognizing the potential role of inflammation in many chronic diseases, including at least 8 of the top 10 leading causes of death. As a narrator's voice flows, I'm not just passively listening. My eyes skim the text, tracing the words as they're spoken. This multi-sensory engagement ensures that I don't just hear the information, but process it on multiple levels. It clarifies meaning, solidifies pronunciation, and, crucially, keeps my sometimes unruly mind locked onto the content. Honestly, with a book as dense as the one I just mentioned, without the audio companion, I would inevitably lose my train of thought, drowning in unfamiliar terminology. The audiobook isn't just a supplement. It's the lifeline that keeps me focused and deeply engaged. It transforms a potentially frustrating reading experience into one of sustained comprehension and genuine discovery. Now, let's unlock another potent, yet often overlooked strategy, transforming your own voice into your most personalized and powerful learning tool. This is about creating your very own tailor-made podcasts by recording audio messages of yourself, then listening to them repeatedly. Think of it as a secret weapon for information retention and active self-correction. Suppose you're wrestling with a particularly stubborn grammar rule, an elusive verb conjugation, or a cluster of new vocabulary words that just refuse to stick. Instead of just writing them down or reciting them silently, grab your phone. Any voice memo app will do, and record yourself explaining them. Talk through the grammar rule. Articulate each new word. Perhaps even construct sentences around them. Make it your own personal lecture. The magic happens later. When you find yourself with those small, often wasted pockets of time, commuting on the bus or train, washing a mountain of dishes, pushing the vacuum cleaner across the floor, or simply taking a walk, instead of defaulting to music or generic podcasts, pull out your phone and listen to your own recordings. Suddenly, those mundane moments transform into active learning sessions. You're not just hearing the information, you're hearing yourself present it, which often creates a deeper cognitive link. This method is particularly powerful when you're facing a deadline, when you absolutely must internalize a specific body of information, perhaps for an upcoming exam or a crucial presentation. We've all experienced the fatigue of cramming, the sensation of trying to force vast amounts of data into an already exhausted brain. By converting that information into your own audio, you externalize it, making it accessible for review during times when traditional study methods are impractical. It's like having a private tutor whose voice you inherently trust, your own. But this isn't just for test preparation. If you're learning a language for the sheer joy of it, for personal growth, you can use this technique to record anything that resonates with you. Describe your day, articulate your feelings, recount a story, or simply speak aloud the new words you're trying to embed in your active vocabulary. The content is less important than the act of creating and then listening. It transforms you from a passive consumer of language into an active producer and critical auditor of your own output. When you listen back, you'll start to notice things, those slight mispronunciations, the awkward pauses, the phrases that don't quite flow. This self-analysis is invaluable, providing clear, unbiased feedback that a live conversation might not. It's a journey into the nuances of your own speech, helping you refine it, polish it, and make it truly your own. Taking this concept of self-recording even further, we arrive at another profoundly effective and surprisingly fun technique: crafting fake interview clips of yourself. This is an exercise in imaginative immersion, a playful yet powerful way to integrate listening and speaking practice. Here's the premise. You're going to pretend you're a distinguished guest on a popular podcast, being interviewed in your target language. Let's say you're deep into your English learning journey. You can use a tool like ChatGPT to generate a series of realistic interview questions. Imagine the prompts. Tell us about your daily routine, or what truly captivates you about your hometown, or describe, in vivid detail, your dream vacation. Where would you go? What would you do? What would you experience? The beauty of this method lies in its dual benefit. As you formulate and articulate your answers, you're actively engaging your speaking muscles, retrieving vocabulary, and constructing sentences in real time. But the true power, especially for listening, comes from the aftermath. Just as with your personal podcasts, you'll record your responses. Then, later, you'll listen back to these recordings. This is where the dark side of learning comes in, the unflinching self-critique that leads to profound growth. As you replay your interview, you become a detached, objective listener. You'll inevitably pinpoint moments where your phrasing felt clunky, where a word eluded you, or where your pronunciation stumbled. This isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. It's about shining a light on those hidden areas that need refinement. Even I, when rewatching and editing these very YouTube videos, notice phrases I've used that, upon reflection, I wish I'd articulated differently. This process of active listening to your own output is absolutely invaluable. The core principle here is to evolve into an active listener. It's not enough to simply have English playing in the background, treating it as mere auditory wallpaper. If you're not genuinely engaging, if your mind isn't actively working to decipher, understand, and internalize what you're hearing, then, honestly, you're likely not learning effectively. Passive exposure has its place, but sustained progress demands active, focused attention. Your brain isn't a magical sponge that absorbs language without effort. It requires intentional engagement. Building on the self-recording principle, let's explore a structured way to consolidate your weekly learning and enhance your listening through what I call weekly recaps. This technique provides a consistent, low-pressure way to reflect on your progress, identify areas for improvement, and create an invaluable audio log of your journey. Every Sunday, or whatever day best suits your rhythm, dedicate a brief period, perhaps just 1 minute, to recording a recap of your week's language learning. This can be an audio message, a video message, though you don't need to be on camera if you're not comfortable, or even a combination. The format is less important than the intentional act of reflection and recording. Here's a simple yet powerful structure for your weekly recap. 1. 3 words or phrases you want to remember. Instead of simply rattling off a list of isolated vocabulary, challenge yourself to integrate these new words or phrases into sentences. Create a context around them. For example, don't just say ephemeral. Say, this week I learned the word ephemeral, which describes something beautiful but short-lived, like the fleeting joy of a summer sunset. By doing this, when you listen back to your recap, you're not just hearing a word. You're hearing it embedded in a meaningful, memorable context, which vastly improves recall. 2. How you felt using the language this week. This is where you tap into the emotional and practical side of your learning. Did you encounter any unexpected challenges? Perhaps you bravely attempted to converse with a native speaker, but found yourself fumbling for a specific word or misunderstanding a quick idiom. Talk about it. Express your concerns, your frustrations, your triumphs. Maybe you realize you haven't actually practiced the language much that week. Acknowledge it without judgment, and perhaps use it as motivation for the coming week. This reflection fosters self-awareness, which is a cornerstone of effective learning. When you listen back to these weekly recaps, you're engaging with your own learning journey from a meta perspective. You're hearing your progress, your struggles, and your insights in your own voice. This kind of personalized, contextualized listening is incredibly potent for long-term retention and for building a deeper connection with the language. It's not just about what you hear, it's about hearing yourself learn, grow, and adapt. Now, I understand that when we talk about improving listening skills, the most obvious advice is usually, just listen and watch more content. And while that's fundamentally true, the reason I've saved my final, overarching tips for the end of this journey is because I wanted to equip you with creative, less obvious, yet highly effective methods first. You already know you need to consume content, but how you choose and interact with that content makes all the difference. My ultimate, non-negotiable tip is this. You must choose content that you genuinely like and that you can mostly understand. This might sound deceptively simple, but its implications are profound. If you're forcing yourself to watch a YouTube video or listen to a podcast that is so incredibly complex, so riddled with unfamiliar vocabulary that you grasp only a few isolated words, you are, frankly, wasting your precious time and energy. You're not there yet, and that is perfectly, absolutely okay. Think of that overly difficult content as a long-term goal. Save it. Bookmark it. Let it stand as a monument to your future capabilities. You can revisit it periodically, checking your progress, reveling in how much more you comprehend with each passing month. The key, however, is to focus your current energy on material that feels accessible. Here's another profound truth that challenges the conventional wisdom of struggle. Language learning doesn't have to feel hard to be effective. In fact, I would argue it needs to feel easy, or at least pleasantly challenging, to be sustainable. When learning feels manageable, when you experience consistent micro-victories, it ignites interest. That interest blossoms into genuine curiosity. And curiosity, my friends, is the rocket fuel of sustained improvement. It transforms a chore into an adventure, a task into a treasure hunt. So, how do I approach this crucial content selection process when, for example, I'm trying to immerse myself in Spanish? I begin by asking myself a fundamental question. What are my passions? What genuinely excites me in life? Right now, I might be deeply engrossed in yoga, or perhaps I'm meticulously planning a dream vacation to a vibrant new city. With these interests in mind, I head to platforms like YouTube, and I simply search for content related to them, but in my target language. If it's yoga, I'll search for clases de yoga in Español or rutina de yoga principiantes. If it's vacation planning, I'll look up Explore City Name in Español or Guía de Viaje a Country. I'll then watch several of these videos, but I don't just consume them passively. I actively evaluate. Do I genuinely like this video? Is the speaker engaging? Is the topic compelling? And crucially, can I understand most of what's being said? If a video is too difficult, if I'm lost more often than I'm following, I move on without hesitation. There are countless resources out there. Don't cling to something that actively frustrates you. For the videos that hit that sweet spot, engaging, comprehensible, and interesting, I practice intentionality. When I encounter a word or phrase that I don't quite grasp, I pause. I write it down, not just the word, but the entire sentence if possible, to retain its context. I then save these gems in my Notion workspace, a digital hub where I meticulously track all my language learning progress. And yes, for those curious, the Notion templates I use are available on my website if you want to streamline your own journey. This level of intentionality goes a long, long way. It's not about how intensely you sweat through a single, arduous language session. It's not about how much you despise the process or how often you feel on the verge of quitting. All of that, every single bit of it, is fundamentally unsustainable. It will not lead to high-quality, long-lasting results. What it will lead to is a deep-seated hatred for language learning, a false belief that you're simply not good at languages, and ultimately, inevitable surrender. And that, my friends, is precisely what I want to prevent for you. So, this brings us to the culmination of our journey. I genuinely hope this deep dive into the foundational power of listening has illuminated a new path for you, dispelling some of the shadows that often cloud the language learning process. If you found value in these insights, if a spark of curiosity or understanding was ignited, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It truly helps our channel reach more learners who are still searching for their breakthrough. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to Fluent, to continue uncovering the hidden truths of language acquisition. As a final reminder, if you're ready to take direct action and integrate the power of intentional listening into your daily routine, don't forget to grab your free, downloadable intentional listening blueprint. The link is waiting for you in the description below. Just click, provide your email, and consider it your personalized guide to unlocking accelerated fluency. And for those of you who felt that nudge of inspiration from Skillshare, who are eager to cultivate new creative skills, master productivity, or simply explore a new hobby that might indirectly fuel your language journey, I wholeheartedly recommend checking them out. Remember, the first 500 trailblazers to use my link in the description will receive a full month of Skillshare, absolutely free. Earlier in this video, we touched upon the age-old debate. Is listening or speaking the most crucial skill in language learning? While we've made a compelling case for listening, I know that for many of you, the yearning to speak confidently and fluently burns just as brightly. If you're struggling to improve your speaking skills, if you feel stuck and unsure how to break through, then I have the perfect next step for you. This video right here. Insert visual cue for video suggestion. Unmask the common reasons why your speaking skills might not be progressing and, more importantly, reveals actionable strategies you can implement to dramatically change that situation. So, click here and let's continue this journey together, one breakthrough at a time.